Hey everyone, if you like martial arts, Kyokushin Karate, boxing, MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the True Experience podcast, available on YouTube and all audio platforms. With that, I'd just like to say thank you to a few supporters of the show. First, KRT Tips and Tricks, the martial way and real talk that Scott Feeney has with Shihan Burkett of Roman Dojo, as well as Moments Management with Nima Safapour, who is, for anyone who wants to get into MMA or doing Kyokushin or kickboxing and you want a good manager, I always recommend Nima for his quality and care. Other supporters I'd like to say thank you to are Kyokushin Boucherville, Karate Joanne Fournier, and of course, I'm wearing this shirt to support it with my guest today, Shihan Hugo Perez. And with that, this is the True Experience, the show that's 80% combat sports, 20% everything else. Today is the first in-person conversation. After doing Zoom, because of the pandemic, but you know what, we're here. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. And I'm your host, the handsome rambling Jew, AKA the Hebrew Hammer. And with me today is the definition of a success story by way of Chile, but he's from Canada. He is a successful business owner, owning multiple dojos. He's a Godan in Kyokushin Karate. He is just an amazing human being. I've been wanting to get him on my show. The timing was right. I struck while the iron was hot. I am so privileged that he has given the hospitality for me to come to his dojo. Today, I am joined by Shihan Hugo Perez. Welcome to the True Experience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the invite. I'm super happy to be the first in-person guest. Because honestly, I was keeping it a secret. Everyone was like, I was conveying the anticipation. Beautiful dojo.
Oh, thank you.
I really love looking at, I like especially how over there we can't see it, but maybe after when I take photos, when they do like a virtual tour, there's the positions for the feet, which are amazing for visual learners. We were talking, all the photos of history, your experiences, the trophies, the belts. It's a beautiful first class dojo you've had.
Oh, thank you.
So Shihan, tell me, I want to know, obviously, before you became a Shihan, a successful owner of multiple dojos, because you don't just have this one. I think it's about, what, 5 dojos you own?
Yeah. We teach in 5 other locations.
Very impressive, especially now that you're reopening. It's nice to see. It's honestly, I'm so happy to see that you're reopened, your schools are reopened, and I really hope the enrollment continues and students come back.
Us too. We're hoping.
It's been, look, the Zoom classes are nice, let's be honest. There's nothing like being an actual dojo.
Especially teaching, it's fun to see, the camera and all that the first time. But after 100 times, it's very difficult to teach by yourself and, trying to imagine the key highs of all the students, it's very difficult. Now in the dojo is much better.
Nice, that's awesome. So before all that, what's your story? Like, who was Hugo Perez before Kyokushin?
Little kid. Yes, I was little in the past. Little kid, from parents from Chile. So we were, like I said, in the Scott's podcast, I Scott. We were like maybe 3 or 4 immigrants family in our neighborhood, and it was really tough. And everybody was like, parents are stealing our parents' jobs. The continuous, even today, you still hear that. And starting to get beat up at school, after school, during school. My parents getting assaulted and stuff like that. So one day, my parents knew a family who had their student, their son, at the Lamarre Dojo. So in 1989, my parents enrolled me in a little karate, kung fu kind of place, a little gymnasium of a school. So just to see if I liked it. And really enjoyed it, kicking and punching and learning how to defend myself and stuff like that. And actually, hitting pads and stuff like that. because, my dad would say, when you get hit, hit back, you hit back. So me, the kid, was the only child, never fought. So I would go in front of my bullies, and I would be like, I was gonna hit you, and then I would get beat up. But with that karate class, kung fu class, we decided to try, started to punch and kick, and I really enjoyed it. And then my parents decided to enroll me at the Lamarre Dojo in 1990.
Was that when it was still on Budo Giant, right?
It was now right now it's 6'7" Budo Giant. It was like maybe 2 doors down on the left. That was, with the carpet and the dojo, and they have our knuckles all burned and our feet and knees burned because of the carpet. And then they moved to the actual location.
That's amazing, and it's like, and they are. And so when you started, what were the early years like in developing your skills? And do you remember your first day kumite?
I don't remember my first kumite because it was 31 years ago, so I don't know. I remember, my first belt test because it was in April 1990, and I remember it because at the Lamarre and our dojo right now we have the tradition that when somebody's birthday, we don't give cakes or birthday gifts, we do push-ups. So if somebody's birthday is like 10 years old, we do 10 push-ups plus 1 for good luck. And I remember because on that day was Shihan Sylvie's birthday. And for me, when I was young, at her age, it was a mountain of push-ups. So that was like, that's something that stayed in my head. But I don't remember my first fights. Okay. Tournament fights, yeah. But fighting in the dojo, no.
That's how I should have worded the question, because I should have said tournaments, but yeah, but that first tournament you always remember. It's like your first high school girlfriend, that's what was that like, your first tournament fight?
I did tournaments from white belt, maybe orange belt, up to brown belt, and all the time I would lose. So I lost all my fights from that belt until brown belt. And at one point, when you're a kid, you're fed up of losing, failing. So 1995 at the Lamarre family size tournament, I decided at last minute to join, to register. I didn't tell my parents, my sister, nobody. I just wanted to go. If I lose, I would lose alone. If I won, I would bring back the trophy to my parents and they would be happy. And that was it. I won. And then they recruited me for the fighting team. And that's the story.
That's amazing. And it's something, I'm like, let's just go back to what you said about when you're a kid, you're fed up of losing. But I want to just say, from my experience, when you're an adult, it's a different perspective. But I'm going to tell something that I want even the young watchers, when they watch, they see our conversation. I always like to tell my young kids when I see them discouraged, don't be discouraged if you win third place. I always tell them, I like winning third place. The reason why I like winning third place, we all aim for first. Listen, I'm telling you guys right now, I always aim for first. I'm a perfectionist to a degree. But what I like about winning like that bronze, it shows me, okay, I'm good at something, but here are my flaws I have to work on. That's what I appreciate about third place. I think that's the best way to learn, by winning third.
Yeah, but when you're a kid, everything seems like a mountain. So you tell a kid, all your belt tests, you have to wait 2 months. And for them, it's a huge amount of time, it's 60 days, 60 dodo, like we say, and it's huge for them. So for them losing and say, you're going to learn, it's very difficult that it goes in their heads and to understand, but you have to push them like my teachers, they push me, they encourage me to continue and not, say, what, it's not for me, I'm gone.
And that's the thing too, because like the kids get discouraged, they leave, and then they go find other sports. Like, I think with Kyokushin, I think because it's such a physical pursuit, it keeps kids in. Something about that physical pursuit.
It's challenging, and when you win, you do win, and they're happy. Everybody says congratulations, and so it's a good feeling. But when you lose in our dojo, we always take people that lose and say, no, I'm happy, you did it. No, let's try next time. and you have to motivate them. Otherwise, like we said, I don't think we're gonna stop and
get into everything. We can't have that. Like, we have to keep growing the art because, I mean, especially now with George St. Pierre being an ambassador of mixed martial arts. I mean, we have Karate Combat that launched. You know, we have some representatives of Kyokushin for that. We need to find a way to keep growing the arts because, yes, I see other arts. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for them. I clap for their success. But we need to do more in Kyokushin. We need to find a way to market it better in the 21st century. And we're doing it with technology. As a Shihan of the modern era, how do you feel others can help grow the art with technology and social media?
But you know, during the pandemic, you know, during COVID, we did many international seminars with Zoom. We hate it, but we love it. You know, so we did international seminar with Shihan Quinn. We did with Sensei from Poland, from England, Shihan from England. So we still continue, even Argentina. So we did, you know, all the countries, all the continents. We did like training together, but with a little device called a webcam. And for me, that's so way to go. You know, before we had a seminar in Montreal, but the people from Saguenay couldn't come because it's from far, or from Gaspésie would be too far. But now we would be able to have a seminar, you know, and have a webcam, and people following from those dojos that are too remote to come to, let's say, Montreal or these areas. So for that part, you know, I think we learned from the pandemic, and I think that will be the future of karate.
I totally agree with that because especially when I had other guests. Oh, by the way, just to go back, you said English Shihan. Was that when Mac Robinson in my
Yes.
Yeah, Shihan Mac, hi. Yeah, Shihan Mac was telling even messaging me, he's like, who's your first guest? So I was like, I'm not saying. He's like, but Shihan Mac's a good guy.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's been with us, you know, with So Kyokushin for I think over a year now. He did multiple seminars international with us, and we did KaratePerez, you know, in January with him. And even when Hanshi Oishi did his training, it was for us I think 5 in the morning. We were still there. Shihan Mac was there in the morning in England, and it was pretty amazing to see all those people train at the same time as you.
It's amazing. What I love about, you know, the one thing I love about Kyokushin is like the network of people you can meet from worldwide. The minute they see this kanji, Rus is an international language.
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Hey, you're from France. You know what? When you come to Quebec, don't stay at a hotel. Come to my house and make sure. It's crazy how deep our network is.
Yes. You know, we had at our house we had Shihan Quinn. And then we had from BC, Rachel Miller, who's in charge of a dojo in Dawson Street. And they came for the belt test and summer camp that we did last year. And so it's good that we have all those, you know, people training and saying the same word. Goes, even though from Iran, from Bulgaria, any country, it's still us, and they see the kanji, and they're like brothers from another country.
It really is. No, it's so true. And especially what I love about it, Quebec. So because now, since I started doing my show, and the thing is, you know, me being an Anglophone, and what I love about being an Anglophone, because I want to become bilingual, and I love learning French. The more you use French, the more you want to learn it. And when I went to one dojo when I was practicing my French, it was so encouraging for the people there to say, like, we're Francophone. They said, your French is better than my English. Keep using it. And they said, and one of them said, listen, do you work for the government? No. Are you a doctor? No. So you don't need to have perfect grammar because we don't even have perfect grammar. As long as you're being understood, that's all that matters. And that's what I love about Kyokushin in Tibet. Iron sharpens iron.
Like in our dojo, you know, we teach we have Anglophone kids from Chateaugay or Hometown or whatever. So the classes are in English, French. I have some Latino kids, so it's in Spanish, and we teach, you know, the counts and the movement in Japanese. So it's 4 languages. Sometimes I get mixed up, but we try to do our best, you know.
Yeah, but they're all picking it up. That's the thing. Like, you know, for example, like let's say an Anglophone doesn't really know Spanish, they might pick up the Spanish word. And that's just helping them because what I love about Kyokushin is you're pushing your potential. It's always pushing the envelope for more in yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes when I talk to the kid in Spanish, I don't realize it. But I'm telling the kids, más rápido. And they're like, okay, faster. They start to understand, or some kid, I talk to him in English, but he's only French. So, but they're trying to, and I tell them, you want to travel, learn all the languages you want. That's the best way. My kids is like that, they watch TV in English and Spanish, they watch, Naruto in Japanese, they watch another cartoon in Korean. I don't know if they're learning, but they're still listening and putting that in their brain. So maybe eventually they could be translators in Japan,
Exactly. But for me, I want to become bilingual in French and English, so I can have plenty of opportunities in staying in Tibet, because I love the province.
Mm-hmm.
I love with Kyokushin and the culture and the history we have here. And then I want to learn Russian because I want to go to Russia because for history purposes. But we have to agree, Russia has one of the richest Kyokushin communities in the world. And I don't know, everyone looks at the Russians and it's like, what are they doing? Well, I want to ask that because you've been on to all the tournaments. What are, from your experience based on countries, I mean, it's a very subjective question. Why is it that you feel like Russia has such a rich community for Kyokushin?
I think they have a good base of, organization. So they have, I think, I don't know, I'm just saying, not officially, but I've seen on Instagram or Facebook that they have camps for fighters. But it's not, it's not everybody who's going to be there. It's only fighters. So it's not a Monsieur, Madame, tout le monde type of class, and it's going to be only for those people, fighting in those tournaments, and they're going to practice, a technique and over and over and over. So I think, and they have a lot of money for, renting, the big gyms and traveling, because Russia is pretty big. So they need a lot of transportation, and they have the heart. They have a huge heart when they fight. It's amazing.
They're just bred for that sport. It's the perfect. I always say, I like to joke, if you're from Russia, if you're from the following countries, Russia, Iran, Japan, you're meant for Kyokushin. I mean, it's a bad joke, but I mean, the Japanese invented it. And that's another one I want to ask you, because you've been to Japan, and let's say a Japanese fighter fights a Russian fighter, and they lose to the Russian. The Japanese will come back to the next tournament or something that we've never seen before. What is that? Do you believe that's the Kaizen philosophy of the Japanese?
I think they have, like I said, they have a specific technique, and we're going to work, a plan. We're going to work on this. So for 4 years, they're going to work on that. That tournament finishes, and they continue practicing that movement plus another one. So they're always, trying to surprise everybody with their techniques. The technique that the Brazilian, not everybody does it. But at first, everybody was getting knocked out because nobody saw Brazilian kick. Or at the first world tournament, when Hanshi Oishi was hitting everybody in their legs with the Hanshi, they didn't see that before. So they're always practicing a new technique that's for them, and then everybody sees it. But we're doing the same, we're trying to, in Europe they're doing the same, the Europeans are very strong because they have that type of training as well.
It's not like the funding, they don't have the same funding like we do here to assess that we're all kind of on our own. Think of hockey as our national sport, that kind of hurts it. But if we did have, say that kind of this, whether it's provincial, federal support for Kyokushin, I'm pretty sure we could be up there with it.
That would be pretty awesome. It's a story that I've heard when I was doing tournaments 20 years ago. We don't have that kind of support. When I went to Japan, I worked, trained, and, I'm also bring our money, my money aside for Japan. There was nobody who was saying, here's a check, we're gonna sponsor you. It was none of that. I used to still work 40 hours a week and then train, the rest of the time by ourselves. And for my students, we try to do something else again with technology. You know, you have the GoFundMe, app. So when we go to Japan, you know, if people, want to give $1, it's $1. When people give 50, they give 50, and that goes to the fighters. Not for me. No, that's going to be only for the fighters. So I think that's the future for us. For the go to Japan.
Exactly. And speaking of which, because one thing I like to do now, especially with the North American Shihan percentage at home stuff, you're an entrepreneur, but you're also a Canadian success story, coming from Chile, really working hard to achieve what you've accomplished. If there's a young up and comer that says, Shihan Hugo, I want to own a dojo, but they don't have good financial literacy skills. What kind of advice would you give for that young up and comer that wants to own a dojo?
Start small. That's the best thing. When I started, I was teaching at the Lamarre, and then I was teaching at Hanshi Dojo, Shihan, and then I had a dojo in Hampstead with Lamarre Dojo, and then we had the dojo in Parc Extension. So, you start small, you start, building your ability to teach kids, adults, and then we moved in Mercy. My house was just around the corner of there. So we wanted to open a dojo. So we started with a small locale. For the first 6 months, we didn't have any students. So for the first 6 months, we had to pay from our pocket, the rent. And then slowly we had like 1, 2, 10, even more and more. So that's my best advice. Start small, because if you start with a big dojo, you're not going to make it. You can't pay that kind of money by yourself, and the equipment and stuff like that. So start small.
It's really nice to see, because what I love when you're giving me the tour, like I love how, and I believe in that, like start small. I mean, you've done it you've done Kyokushin now for what, 30 years? 31. And when I was talking with another Shihan who's done it for a very, very long time, he was telling me, he was not even posted a video, like people are gonna laugh at you, they're gonna say, oh, why would you want to do that? He's like, but then he says, look, it's laughing now. Put your mind to it, keep saving your money, don't overspend it on activities. You can achieve it.
Yeah, I don't think they start, and it's the third choice, it's their life. They buy whatever they want, they screen TV. Yeah. It's good for them, But for me, this is my second house. I'm always here, and I'm at the house with the kids, and then I come here to train, do my stuff, online training, and that's about it. But this is my second house, so I put all my love in detail here.
I really love it. As I said, I feel like I'm in a Japanese dojo. I'm in Quebec, but you did such a good job, and it's really, I really see it. Like, if you care about it enough, you're gonna put your blood, sweat, and tears in it to make sure it looks good.
But I could have done it by myself. When I put a shelf at home, my wife, puts it straight, because the mine's gonna be like this, So all this, the wooden panels and all the detailed work of the Shindan is my students.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they came here, and they started doing, all these squares and all these details. It was all them. They work here for I think a month every day, and they did it for the dojo, for us.
Shows. I mean, like, it's really like it's such a beautiful dojo. Like and we have 5 dojos operating now. So this is like the main one. When did you realize it was time to like expand? Because expansion can be a very tough thing for a lot of dojos.
It was the cities were calling me. So let's say the city of Saint Michel would call me, and they're like, "Yeah, we need a karate instructor." So I had students from Saint Michel, and they told the city, "I have an instructor that can come and teach." So the city would contact me. So it was a little easier like that instead of me saying, we need a teacher, you know, we need a karate teacher. So it was easier like that. But, you know, when you're in your dojo, you have your students and, you know, you have a way of teaching. And then, you know, you go in a real dojo. Over there, it's like a community center.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. The ambiance is different. And you always have to restart again because in you know, cities like that, some of them stay, but a lot of them do something else. They go to dancing after, or they go to baseball. During summer, soccer here, baseball. So there's no kids in the little towns. There's no kids. So every year you have to restart. So that's the difficult part of teaching in other places. Here in this dojo, the rent is all year round, so we have to teach all year round, so it's never closing. And so the kids know how we work, and the ambiance is different.
Really good. So that's amazing. Now let's go back in time. So you're now a step high,
Yes.
and I don't know what year it was. I think it was 1998, if I have it right. A young Algerian named Mohammed Sheikh comes to the Lamarre Dojo.
Yes.
Describe little Mohammed to
Like this. So yeah, Mohammed was very a lot of energy. Let's put it that way, a lot of energy, but always there. You know, see, that's the difference between kids that, you know, by choice when they come once a week, or by, it's not their choice, you know, the parents' schedule, they come once a week. Or you have those kids that they're there every class. And they give everything, and even when his class was finished, he would, you know, sit on the benches, and he would watch sometimes the other class, and then he would leave. So you can see that he was passionate even at a young age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he said that, you know, that he credits you for, like, you know, he said, you know, like, I wouldn't be where I am without, you know, Sylvie, Shihan Reynolds, and back then Senpai Hugo was like, he said in his own words, like, I was full of energy. But did you recognize he had the talent to become something right away, or did you really wasn't became show that if you remember?
I don't remember when he was Shodan. Like you said to me earlier, I did some fighting with him on his Nidan test. After the years, I don't remember. And back then, you know, at the dojo, it was at night with the lights closed, only with candles. And I was wearing glasses back then. So as soon as I removed the glasses, it was only a figure in front of me. So maybe that's why I don't remember who I fought. But he was good in fighting. He was good, you know, good legs, and he still is. You know, he still has a good leg kicks, because at the last tournaments that I saw at Pierre Chambonneau, I think. I think he was tough and hitting strong. Like always.
Yeah, he's definitely, I mean, like, you know, everyone's like, what about this heavyweight? What about that heavyweight? He's very good heavyweights, but I mean, of this era, he's up there with some of the best. I mean, you know, and you know, he had that team, you know, like, because you guys kept turning in, but putting in development. Like there was him, there was Victor Pazman, if you remember.
Yes. Victor, I was no camp, you know, the summer camps?
Yes.
Okay, so I was like a bit able to say, you have the Monita, you know, the person in charge, and I would help that group. And like always, I always have back then, I have always Kyokushin shirts. And Victor saw my shirt, and then I talked to his mom and his sister, and they joined the Lamarre Dojo because of it. So Victor, because I did a class. One day, I was, I think, 12 or 13 or 14. And I taught a class to that group at the summer camp, and then Victor joined the dojo.
That's amazing. Wow, it's word of mouth, and then Victor became one of the other, like, you know, one of the other exceptional talents, I would say. And then basically, like, you guys were basically like 300, like, you know, Sparta at one point. I remember, like, the Lamarre.
You know, like our first tournament, you know, our biggest tournament, I think, was 1996. We had like the big gym at the San Hugo, and we would start in the morning and finish at 12, you know, super late. It was always fighting. There was no kata back then. a little small group, but it was only fighting, and that was the amount of people coming to Montreal for that tournament. People from New York, Rochester, the western part of Canada, the Maritimes would come to that tournament back then. But now we have tournaments every month almost, so people have choices now. Before you had on the Chandler Rise tournament, and then in 97, 96, 97, you had Changora, so in New York, full contact. So you had 2 tournaments, and that's it. No? But now, mine is in October, you have other Shihans during the year.
That's really amazing. Like you said, like just fighting some all. It was basically like it must have been like a scene in the movie The Warriors, where you said all the gangs coming, all together from like the summit, but then you said all the schools together. So you have like it must have been like crazy to see all of North America just come together for that.
Yeah, we had all the track shoes. I remember ours was not beautiful. It was a purple kind of, Barney, kind of purple. But back then it was popular. But we would stand out, and we were like you said, we were like 50 people from that dojo. And then you had Shihan back at the House Dojo, and then you have back then Jacques Latex and Six Dojo, and we would all be in groups like that, and then we would go fight together. Yeah.
That's amazing. So like, but like, and then you must have had the USA have like their tracks, or have like the USA on it.
I don't remember. I know that every branch had their own tracks.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. And it must have the Hanshi on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 90s were a good decade. Like I was looking and I was like say 1995 for pop culture was good for 3 things that happened. Okay, there was like those tournaments because like I've only heard stories through a lot of others who've been in the game as long as you. James Bond GoldenEye came out in 1995, and the PlayStation 1 came out too in 1995. So that year between 95 and 97 were like just amazing years, it seems. And that was like the first golden era, and then, as I like to say, the last golden era seems to be from 2009 up to 2016 until like, the whole splits happened and whatnot. But when you think of what you've accomplished, also you've been to Japan, like how many times now? 7. So what makes Japan so special when people go to Japan? They appreciate about it.
When I went the first time in 2001, we didn't have our phones, with Google Maps and Google Translate and, pictures and videos and all that little box, We had, the photo, we had to crank up, and then you had the maps. So back then, Japan was very, intimidating. Now, I go right in Japan, the Wi-Fi pops in my phone. I have, my messages. I know, my Google Map. I know how to take this train at that time. So it's much easier now. But the way they are, the discipline, the streets are clean. There's no garbage on the ground. There's no garbage cans anywhere. You keep your garbage for yourself until you arrive home. It's that type of discipline that we love. That's what I think we go back to Japan and training with them. They have 2 legs, two arms like us, but you're in Japan, it's something, the energy for us when you go there, it's like, oh, Kyokushin it's from here. And you go and you see the old movies, and you're like, oh, I'm training with this person. Like my boss, my master is Hanshi Oishi. He came 4th at the first world tournament. So you have him in the videos, the fighting back teams, and you have him, jumping and doing, kicks to like a tree, and then he was fighting, at the end Frank Clark from New York. Those epic fights that I would see on VHS back then, and now he's my master. He's my teacher. I go to his dojo. He comes to get me at the train station, himself, and he's always accompanying. He was always makes me feel comfortable when I arrive there. Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, we're on the way here, and we're telling the story, Japan from then versus now. What really surprised me was, like you said, there were some parts that you couldn't even get into before, and they're like, no, daichi, no.
Yeah.
And you said Osaka was like the city itself, or like someone wants to get coffee, like at a cafe, maybe like
No, it was more like a type of, not discotheque, where you go there to have a beer, a drinks. It's, like a little restaurant, but it was like saying no to us because, well, I don't know why, but what I assume is that because we were not Japanese. But other than that, I go, we go out, have fun. And they never say, you can't come in anymore. I think they're a little bit more open.
The internet has helped with that too, especially I think since the internet became more mainstream, especially YouTube. Now you've been to probably all over. The one place I want to ask you about is Sapporo, like the island of Sapporo.
I know Shihan from there, from Sapporo. I know the beer, but that's it. I never went to Sapporo.
So an underground train apparently that goes under the ocean apparently that goes to Sapporo. Like you take a train like Tokyo or the northern part, because Sapporo is in New York.
Yeah.
And it's an underwater train apparently that gets to Sapporo. It's pretty unique.
No, maybe from the Shinkansen, the bullet train. Maybe you're right directly from like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. And then also, let's say I'm someone like, we all know Japan is sushi, but there's other cuisines, and I want to ask you, if I'm a first-time person in Japan, what is the one food that every person should try their first time in Japan?
Ramen.
Really? Like authentic Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah. They have udon, soup, whatever Japanese type. We eat. We don't have any difficulties. When I go to Japan for breakfast, we eat natto, which is fermented beans, and that Shihan Quinn, the Shihan people us talk about. It's a strong taste, but we love it. We go there, we eat it. My wife hates it, my students hates it, but for me that's Japanese breakfast. But other than that, you have all the seafood. So hopefully people that go there are not that allergic. So otherwise, yeah, ramen, udon, it's amazing.
It's and what I like about Japan is obviously when people say, I want to go to Japan because of the anime, or martial arts like judo, Kyokushin, Shotokan, etc. But what is something that people also appreciate, like that they see? And I know it's like when a discipline. Is there like a pop culture thing in Japan that Westerners like as well? Like it's like
for my part, I don't have time to visit, that type of places. Because I arrive in Tokyo, then I take my train, I go to Umazu, where Hanshi Oishi Dojo is. And then from there, I go back sometimes to Tokyo. I go to Asakusa, which is like it's the big temple, the oldest temple in Tokyo. And then sometimes I meet my friend Etienne. So we go around, walk around to show me some, touristic places. And those always try to go to Soul-Size Brave, and pay my respect to Soul-Size, and go to home, even though, I went inside only once. I always go and take a walk to home dojo and, take pictures, even though I take pictures every time. For me, it's important to pay respect in those places.
It's amazing. Now, and here's the difference. When I first met you, it was in 2019. It was at my tournament, first tournament Denver when I was with Moro. And at the time, like you transformed yourself. I mean, like, you went from like you lost so much weight. What was your like? I don't know how else to put it, but it's like what made you decide to say like, I'm gonna transform now? Like, what was it during the pandemic? You realized I gotta change something? Because it's like I didn't even recognize it. Picked me up from Metro. Wow, they can transform themselves.
It was one picture who, made me realize that I need to start, because everybody, tells me, the doctor's like, yeah, you for your knees, I have operations with knees and stuff like that. I need, medicine in my knees, and the doctor's always, you need to lose weight, and, you still, you listen, but you're like, hey, I know, but you never realize it until I saw a picture in the dojo here, and I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even post the picture because I was ashamed of the picture that was the image that I was because no, it went very down south. So during the pandemic, I continued training here with the kids, and I think it was to motivate the students at home that we're training harder and stronger and stronger. And at one point, we transformed. I think you saw the other dojo and bought some punching bags. We bought some rowing machines. So it was more like a training for myself, and little by little, I would buy more equipment. And now I have my personal gym here, so I come here once or twice a week, train for 2 hours, and then in the evening I still teach. I teach 6 days a week, so I'm always moving because my old job I was sitting down for 40 hours, going to McDonald's, get my medium black coffee, and like, let's have a muffin.
It adds up.
It adds up, after 12 years of always sitting down and with coffee and muffin, it adds up. So yeah, I lost 40 pounds. So I'm happy, but I still want to lose more weight, and hopefully one day I can be the weight that I was when I was fighting. So I still have 20 more pounds to go.
Well, first of all, I want to say personally congratulations, because one time when I was at a training, I was at a group training, and at the Budo Dojo, it was with Mo, me, Justin, I'm sure you remember Rachel.
Yeah, she was a student at the Lamarre.
And she was like saying to the guys, like, Shihan Hugo transformed and stuff. And like, yeah, and everyone was like so happy with Mo. And even Mo was saying, like, I'm really happy. And when Mo says something, it's like it means something. And like, I know Mo, like, I mean, being around Mo every day, basically, like, I know when he means something, but like, we were really happy for you. Like, and you're an example of putting your mind to something and really persevering. So keep it up, and because you're not just motivating yourself, you're motivating others. And that's the thing too. Like right now, like I'm weighing 222, and you remember you saw how thin I was when I was fighting. I'm gonna get back there. Like Mo sends me pictures every day. So what happened? And I'm like, cheese bread from Uber Eats, iced tea. Was drinking some beer. Then I have like coffee with some sugar. It adds up. But you know what? If you can do it, I can do it too. So it's motivation for me.
For my motivation as well to train is that I have students that are training for full contact fighting and for Japan and stuff like that. And right now, my goal is to push them to their limit. So when we're doing like the rowing machine, now we put let's say 15 to 10 minutes, but I try to do more distance than them. And they're like, I'm retired from fighting. It's been 20 years, and I'm still beating you at this. So they're like motivated to beat me in those numbers. And then the aerobics, same thing, and the calorie numbers. So we're pushing it, like each other, and it's fun, and it's good for myself as well.
It really is, and the row machine is such an amazing exercise for especially like pacing, because it's like not like most of the fight is pacing when you're in a kumite. So, and everybody hates like most injuries. I know I'm gonna give you now one time to train. Yeah, I hate the air bike, but that row machine is all mad. It's just so fun to do. Isn't it fun when you just like do a distance and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do some more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do like I did 5,000. Let's do 10,000.
Yeah. But with the rowing, you have to push yourself, and what I'm doing right now when I train alone is that let's say Tuesday I have this distance with this time. On Thursday I try to beat that time or that distance. So you motivate yourself, you try, but otherwise it's easy to sit down and watch TV and drink beers or water and stuff like that. So it's easy to go back by your work, but it's to motivate to show your students, let's put in practice what we say. Never give up. Continue. It's hard. Continue more. Don't give up.
You think you're hurting? Good. You don't want to do it? Good, do some more, right? What I do is maybe, I don't know your routine, say you do 2 hours twice a week. What I like to do is I go to the gym like 4 to 5 days a week. But and then after I've done my work, and instead of like just like sitting on the couch and scroll Netflix and what, I'll go for a 30-minute walk around my area, just like get the blood flowing. I might not do it to a routine, but I still get the messages from them and say, hey, like what's up? It's like, shed the weight. I want it to be tough on me, but like I asked them, I said that. So that's, but it's a good routine. I mean, you just gotta keep moving all day.
Of course, but I teach every day. So, I teach Monday to Friday, every evenings, and Saturdays I teach for 3 hours, and we do 2-hour training. I try to train with them at the same time. But you still need to focus on the students because of, fix their positions or, practicing a kick or a punch and stuff like that. But, yeah, we're really active with it.
That's amazing. Now, you've also done a lot of work. You've done reffing. You've done a lot of, even done kind of like scouting, as you were telling me, like back in the day for the tournament, like watch fighters, like help with the fights. What goes into that? Like, and does it involve like a lot of concentration? You have to make sure you're picking, you're reffing correctly.
Yeah.
And B, when you're picking the fight scenes, then it must have been so much work if you're getting everybody's spot and you're looking at them and you're like, okay, we've got to make sure we're picking the right people for this tournament.
Yeah, there was a team for that and we would give your input, but mostly I was more always refereeing. So I was helping out to the teams for refereeing, putting those people together and make a team, and that was like part of my job. But I've always been, refereeing since, I was looking at Shihan Hugo, who's like a good referee. Budo Giant, same thing, even Nishida Shihan from Senbukai, he's an amazing referee. You can see that in the videos of 1991 World Tournament. He had like a big voice, and it was very clear, what was the decision. I like that. So I'm like, I would watch the VHS back then. Now it's all free on YouTube. Back then it would cost $120 US per VHS. Now it's all free, but I would watch and even I did with the little 2 sticks and papers. So I had one paper white and one paper I draw red. So I would be the corner judge at my house watching the video, and I would practice like that. I never went out partying. That wasn't my type of going partying, friends and all that. Me was, I'm gonna go to the dojo, and at home I would think about karate, and then go back to the dojo. That would still my life like that, And so slowly I would do that for refereeing, and then I would be center judge at the Montreal tournament, and then now I'm center referee in Japan.
But I love what you said. I really, really like it. You said that I didn't party. But you know what? Because when you're partying, people really care about it. If there's one thing that I've learned, as I've been in martial arts since 2016, that's where I found my real friends. That's where I found my community. Not your partying. And I understand why the community is so rich. So do you feel like let's say if you weren't so devoted, let's say we're kind of half caring about it. Do you feel like you're doing partying, but you're not doing it? Do you feel like your life would be 10 times better, up night and day compared to that?
I think so. For me, it's that way. You have other people that, they do party, they go for suppers, with their friends or something like that. No, it's their life. Yeah. My life, my way, it's, I rather stay, home with the kids right now with the kids, my there. And, I have friends and other dojo directors, we meet up and do supper like that. But the conversation is still martial arts, karate, So it's always like that, And but for other people that they like to go party, it's you like, this type of food. I don't like this type of food. Everybody, enjoys their life. But for me, I needed something to keep me, like that, because back then, the people from school, they were, some of them were doing, graffiti's and stuff like that. But I was always wearing a t-shirt with the kanji. And I always said to myself, imagine if I'm doing a graffiti and a parent of a student, by then I would be like an assistant instructor with Sylvie, I think in '93. So I was like, imagine if one of the parents sees me doing something stupid like that, how my parents are going to feel and how the dojo is going to feel. So I decided to, stop, hanging out with those people. But I'm pretty sure if I wasn't, with Kyokushin or that dojo, I don't know where I would be.
So true. So true. Like for me, like even like if I didn't have Kyokushin, I don't know where I'd be either. Isn't it crazy how everyone said that? Like they always like when you're reading like Patrick Pinto's book for every student, he always asks that question: what would you be without Kyokushin? And I remember he asked that question to Shihan Cameron, and Shihan Cameron had the best response. It's like, and he said, I don't know how to answer that question. Like, I don't know. And he's like, that's why I have to leave it at. And it was crazy because it goes to show like how this art just impacts your life.
No, it impacts your life in a way that you decide to accept the path you want, because a lot of people come and, do a class, but they leave the league. It's only Kyokushin for that hour, and that's it. And for me, and I know all of the directors that I'm friends with, it's karate during the day, we come here to teach, we teach, in the evening, it's still karate. So for us, it's a part of our life. It's been in our life for so long that we only know that. But that's the difference, you decide to concentrate and Kyokushin the person, or just do a class once a week or 2 classes a week, and that's it. So it all depends on what you decide the best is for you.
So true. Like, I mean, since like, I've been off it like for 2 years now, and then when I do the show, it's like, I realize like what makes me happy. And, I like that routine, it gives that discipline. And it's like, yeah, you get older, you realize there's other things to life, your interests change, your path changes, like where you want to be, your career. And that's what I love about Kyokushin. It's really about pushing that envelope further and further and further to achieve your potential. And the thing is, there's no such thing as perfection. That's why you keep trying to achieve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, as a dojo director, the toughest thing is that, we love being students. So with other dojo directors, we come here, we go to their dojo, and we just train katas between the 3 dojo directors, and our wives, they come and we do katas, and that's our training because we want to learn stuff. Because it's, that's a part that it's very difficult as a dojo instructor, a dojo director, is that there's nobody pushing you. So if you don't push yourself, nobody will. Hanshi's there when I'm in Japan, he pushes me, he still corrects me, which is normal because you can't achieve perfection ever. So he's always correcting me with the katas, and he has a way to do your kata, his kata. So we do the same way. So that's, I love that. But otherwise, when you're here, you're in charge of the dojo, the student's not going to tell you, you should do more kata. It doesn't work like that. So for you, you have to manage yourself to have the training and to train more and to become a student again. We're talking about the Sensei Pinto, that's a good book, it's a reminder of being a student, which is good because people forget to be a student. I have when Shihan Quinn came here the first time in 2012, I contacted a few dojos and to announce, Cameron Quinn is coming. And one of them told me, "What band is Cameron?" I'm like, "Cameron Quinn is a film band back then." "Oh, it's okay. I have more that's and hip, so I have nothing to hurt." So I'm like, okay, I respectfully disagree with what you're saying, but it's okay, you know, I have a good career life, a career of karate life. But for me, it's always good, you know, like you said, you know, the KRT, you know, the lower ranks and myself. But when I see them, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. You know, let's try that at our dojo. No, I don't see people with their belts and, I see what they're going to show us, you know, and I think that's a different part of
I judge people based on their behavior and attitude towards others, and how you treat those who are below you in rank. There's a lot of eye attack. And as you said, I learned from them as they're learning from me, like just now. Isn't it amazing, like how Sensei Wes and Darren have like figured out a way to like bridge everybody together, no matter what organization? KRT.
again, with technology, you know,
And it's necessary.
it's awesome because, you know, when I trained with his mom in Holland, you have to go in Holland, and it's not everybody that can go there. Look what they're doing right now, you know, Darren at his place, West at his place, they're teaching with, I think, technology Zoom or something like that. You can see and be part of it, which is awesome, you know, I really enjoy it.
It's amazing. They're amazing. I mean, it's like they're always bringing on a new guest that I never even heard of. And then you have Patrick Pinto. Unfortunately, he's in Australia, so the problem with getting Pat on, like even for like if you ever want to get Pat on, I strongly recommend it. Pat's a great guy, but just the time zone in Australia. Pat, if you're gonna watch this, I love you, but Australia, it's too much for me. Like I get it, it's like a day ahead. Like I love Shihan Cameron too, but Shihan Cameron's like. I'm a day ahead of me, and I was still getting confused by that. So that's what I love. I love them both, but just Australia, it's a puzzle to deal with the time zone. That's all I have to say about that country.
But no, you know, it's like I said, you know, with technology, Shihan Quinn, that, you know, he did a training with us, international training. We tried to manage a good time for him, for us, Europe. Very difficult, but we still managed to have to do it.
It's just about really coming to agreement to make sure what time works for you, what time works for me. And it's like, then yeah, the agreement's there. That's what I love about, that's the good thing about Zoom and especially Skype. Like that's what makes it so good. And Shihan Cameron, I mean, you deserve another credit you deserve is you're the one that helps get the books that you just wrote into Canada. That's something that not many people like realize it. Because when I had an issue, I had a shipping issue with mine, because remember, he probably sent so many of those books to you. So some probably got lost in the shipping from the shipments. But so then Cameron was like, okay, so I'm gonna send you like a copy. He's like, if you know I do anything else, it's like Shihan Hugo to go to my book. So that amazing work there. And what was it like to get that book? I mean, maybe you have the first edition too. But to do it again, what was it like to get that shipment in and just like be the one that gives all the books out there?
A lot of work, but honor as well, because, you know, he sent the dojo like a few boxes. So it's trust, I think. You know, it's not going to send it to anybody, you know, like who that he doesn't know. Shihan Quinn was guest at our dojo 2 times. 2012 and 2017 or 16, something like that. And, you know, he comes to our house, my kids, you know, in the morning, they would come down and they would see Shihan Quinn, you know, cooking in the kitchen, and they would like be like this and say, oh, Shihan Quinn. And every time they would say, oh, Shihan Quinn. So Shihan Quinn would talk to them and would like, oh, Shihan Quinn. So every time I talk with Shihan Quinn, he's like, how are the kids? And I love them when they tell, you know, oh, Shihan Quinn. They're very cute, you know. And so there's a trust with, I think, with Shihan Quinn. You know, I'm very lucky that when I go to Japan, he helps a lot with translation, because for the most part, you know, what they need and stuff like that, it's still in Japanese. So he helps a lot, you know, with the translation. I'm very old.
He's a kid. He's like a kid at heart. Like when I had him like on my show, like the first time, like I'm like, he is one only shit. He's like hiding behind his book.
Yeah.
He's got that. That's what he's got that like inner child energy still, like, even though like, it's very like distinct from everything there is to life and Kyokushin, especially. But I think that's what makes them such an integral piece to Kyokushin because of how humble he is and how humane he is. He really brings that human touch that like everyone wants to be around.
But I think Sosai saw, I never met Sosai, but what I heard was, you have Shankar Quinn and you have Sensei David Bun from New York.
Yeah.
And both of them were translators for Sosai. But I have Cameron Quinn Chan in my dojo here, and I have David Bun at my dojo. And they're both humble, and they're both, with the same energy, good in training, like when it's time to be serious, otherwise it's time to be, stuff like that. But I think Sosai saw something in them, and they related, even though Shankar went from Australia and the Bun from New York, they're the same. For me, they have the same manners to, very humble. Yeah.
It's amazing. And there's also, what was really beautiful about this past week, although sad, unfortunately, rest in peace to Hanshi Oishi. It was beautiful to see, I always say this, as long as I lived, it was so beautiful to see on the internet, everybody just come together to honor Hanshi Oishi. To show what he meant, especially to Darren and, Wesley, and just in general, every organization was coming to give some tribute about Hanshi.
When people from that era dies, it's a shock for everybody. But it's a way of life. It's part of life. When Social Yama died, it was a big shock for everybody. My God, Shihan Yama, Social died. That was huge. It's the same thing with Hanshi Oishi. So there's such big names in Kyokushin that even I never met Hanshi Oishi. I never trained with him, I never met, but I know who he is. I've seen pictures, And it was when I saw it on Facebook that he was gone. I wasn't shocked. I'm like, oh my God, he passed away. So I think it's because of the community, and now again with technology, with the Facebook, everything is quick. I remember when Sosai died, in Geronimo Real, that's a newspaper here. He had a little rectangle saying, Masayama died in Japan. That's it. No, that's my dad who told me. And then at the dojo, they told us that Sosai died. But now somebody, with those big names pass away, everybody's gonna know the instant because of Facebook. And so that's why it's much easier to send your condolences and see those many people, because now with the technology you can reach more people, and that's why I think the Social died or Hanshi Oishi died, that's why they have so many messages because of Facebook.
It's amazing. Look, I wouldn't be doing it without technology. It's a necessary evil. As much as we hate it, we love it. We need it. But I wouldn't be doing technology. I wouldn't be doing the show with you if it wasn't for technology. I wouldn't be doing my show if it wasn't for technology. I do it with Darren, West, Scott, Terry, and it's just amongst others. And it's just my goal is they want to help grow it. I want to grow Kyokushin in my way. I want to just help show that we have what they said. I love what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does. But let's show others, hey, if you want to learn striking and traditional, try Kyokushin, because you're going to see how rich the community is. And I think the pandemic made us realize that no matter what views you have or political views of the organization or whatnot, it's time to come together. We got to start coming together now.
And that's what we do. There's a lot of people that they still with that mentality of politics or their own game.
Yeah.
But for our tournament, it's open to anybody. Open to anybody who still trains and are respectable and Kyokushin and in that part. It's open for them. We have referees from Shihan Kyokushin, Kyokushin Kan, So Kyokushin. We have different organizations coming together, and even when people from outside, Japanese when they come, or from Europe, it's always been like that. They're so huge, their tournaments and their organization, that they don't need others. Here in Quebec, we need the help of everybody, and when everybody stands together, it's amazing. It's a huge tournament, and everybody's happy. And mine is in October. It's been like October for the past 7 hours Shihan Quinn, and then 7 tournaments, and now we're waiting to have the okay from the government to do another one next year. But and for us, we do a tournament. Everybody's together, and they're always surprised to see that many organizations and dojos working together. And we have other tournament directors that's the way they work. They open to everybody. We go help out and for referee. No, I referee like a lot of those tournaments because they come up at my tournament. So everybody's helping out, and I have my kanku and the organization on my patch for refereeing. But I referee like Kyokushin like we do to my tournament. So it's everybody's helping out, and we try to put the politics and and all that part because it's not beneficial for us.
I want to ask you this now. We're traditional. Kyokushin is a very traditional art, and sometimes it's always about respect. I get that, but sometimes just to spice it up a little bit. Do you feel like we should add some heels like in Kyokushin, like rivalries to make it like heels are like villains, like a champion that's kind of like a trash talker. We feel just kind of like the arts. Because some people they get into Kyokushin because they watch MMA, they get the art. No, but it's like some people like I had one tournament there, not the one that I fought, but there's one where there's one guy that says I'm going to do some damage to this guy. Like he's the champion this year, but I'm taking that. It's like but then I kind of had an idea, like, what if you kind of have that rivalry? Does it make the sport better? Or do you feel kind of ruins the art?
For me, it would be acceptable in my tournament to have that kind of people, trash talk on Facebook. It's your Facebook, you do whatever you want, but when it's related to a tournament, it's not a way that we teach at Dojo. It's always by respect. So we teach our kids to respect, it's a martial art. When we do karate, it's martial arts. It's not, cannot buy your belt. It's like that's not easy like that. So for me to have somebody like that, trash talking, yeah, I wouldn't accept that.
I agree. I can agree with that. Like, what's that kind of thought? What if we kind of have it, But then I realized, listen, it's the martial art. It's not entertainment. Entertainment is one thing, and respect is another. Because you never know how people are going to perceive that. And even for example, like when I fought the guy Matsushima in the last tournament where I met you, it's like I respect the guy. Like we're taking photos after. My leg killed. Don't get me wrong, my leg was done. But the only thing that also I hated too. Okay, c'est temps pour le photo. Like I wanted to. C'est temps pour like take a photo of my shirt. I'm like in my head, I'm like, okay, chair. My leg is about to go. I'm like, and then I'm like, and I'm like in my head, I'm like yelling at myself. I need a chair, please. I'll take a photo of the chair, but I need a chair. It's like. That's what I love about it. It's like that all the photos, all the community, and then after that, like everyone's like, hey man, it doesn't matter, great fight, this and that. And that's the community for you.
I mean, that's everybody hits each other during the fight, and then talking to the same guy. That's I think that's Kyokushin. Even in the UFC, you always mention UFC fighters, stuff like that. Yeah, fighters, when they finish a fight, they're all, they have blood. They go in the ring, they go on Seiza, they talk to each other, respectfully. And, it's even though at the beginning they were trash talking to get more publicity or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But at the end, they have that kind of respect. And that, for me, it's important to have that respect because, that's part of the fighting, the tournament. You're going to see that guy in the future. If you lost, you're going to fight him. You're going to have a goal to, beat him, or you won, and the next year he's going to want to beat you. It's a good, competition. A good
rivalry. I think makes a good rivalry is like you don't hate the person, but you want to be on their level. And And that's iron sharpens iron. For example, like I won second place, and then like I was ready to come back, but then COVID happened, and the job I was working didn't have benefits at the time, so I was like either like it's a bit of my pocket I get or not. Like, and then that's where like Mo said like maybe just take some time off. Like you did a lot to get to your green belt at the time, so it was like that's what I like about it. Like I want to be on that level. Like when like I won third place and I won second place, but it's like it makes me want to compete more and more. Like and then I realized it doesn't matter if I won first, second, or third. As an adult now, but I just want to be there. Like, I just want to be there. It gives you something to look forward to.
But it never leaves that feeling because when I step in on the tatami for the referee, and I still have that it's the nerves that I'm like the feeling, to step on the mat, and the feeling when I was a fighter, it's still there. With the body, with the injuries, it's not recommended anymore, but every time I jump in there, to referee, I still have that feeling, and I'm pumped up, you never lose.
Once you do it the first time, it's with you for life. And I mean, I don't know how many more tournaments I have, but like, I'm gonna make it. I guess I can't say, I mean, I do plan to come back next year. I don't know what the plan is, but I can confirm I want to come back and when the tournaments start happening. I have some more tournaments left in me, and I want to come back. I just want. I feel like it keeps the discipline there that comes with it. You're getting ready for something always. It's like that Navy SEAL mentality where the Navy SEAls are always training, That's Kyokushin. It's like the Army is becoming. And I always equate Kyokushin to the Navy SEAls, like that. It's like that kanji that you have. It's like that Navy SEAL insignia. It's just a weird parallel I make, but that's how I view it.
That's good. But when we're gonna start doing tournaments, you're more than welcome for next year to join our tournament.
Thank you.
You can, it's a good tournament.
I saw it, you were showing me one of the videos, like the one from 2 years ago. Last question I have is, as things reopen and technology is going to be big, how do you feel the future is going to be with as we reopen now and hopefully what stay open because martial arts schools and martial arts instructors which often have for politicians. So how do you feel the future holds for martial arts in beyond 2021?
Oh my God, it's a big question because we try to do our best, with all the regulations and one day it's you're allowed to have 12 people here, the other day it's only 8, the other day it's 25. So it's always changing. We don't know. That's what the thing that we don't like is that and karate here at the dojo, that from orange belt you need tactical 1 or 2. It's set like that. But not knowing what you need to do to stay open, that's the worst part. So for us, in the dojo here before, we used to have like 50, 60 kids at the same time. We have 20, 25 parents in the back, watching. But now we can't. Now it's only 25 kids, no parents. So it's difficult. You have to readjust. It's like for us, we're calling it the reset. So you're resetting everything, you're restarting everything again, and you're doing the best what you have. People are so scared of coming in the dojo because of the COVID and stuff like that. People don't want to. Don't want to wear masks when you come in. You don't want to do this. You don't want to show up. It's their thing. But as a business, we have to, to stay open. You don't want to be a center of, free for all. It's not like that. You can see you have the little X's on the ground, and people, that's where they train. But that's what they told us to do. So I hopefully I hope that in the future, we're going to reopen like it was before, and I doubt it's going to be in the next 6 months. Like you said, there's always that part of we never know, and that's the bad part. it's nerve-wracking, it's stressing out, you know. Are we gonna remain open, or are we closing it? And it's bad for the students, bad for us mentally. It's tough, you know. You see that I was talking with Chandler and they're still, I think, in some parts in lockdown. And no, we don't want that anymore. No, we want to continue teaching. That's my job.
It's your life.
It's my life. I want to teach, you know, but that I don't have nothing against the camera, but I don't want to teach anyone in front of the camera because we did it 130 times. It's enough. And we're here, we train together, and students are happy, and that's, you know, we can feel that the students, you know, you can see a kid, you know, achieving I can say a position with a block, and they're like, okay, you got it. You got this ankle statue, you got it. And they're happy about it. It's like, oh man, I got it. That's at home. It's easy to move the camera and, you know, go sit down for 2 minutes and then come back, you know. I've seen kids like, and adults too, it's super real.
Listen, I tried it on Zoom on class, and then I put my camera off. I was like, that's just.
So imagine, you know, you're a student and you're like, that's your people. Imagine an instructor. You're teaching in front of a camera, you have a TV on the side to see all the students. And you see sometimes the students being annoyed of, you know, not being in the dojo, and you see in their faces, so it's affecting you. You know, it's
cyclical.
Yeah. So for me, being in a dojo, it's the best thing. I was super happy, but again, not good. When we opened in September, we're like, oh man, are we gonna remain open in September? No, October's here. Are we remaining open in October? And it's always that question that I think it's very tough on dojo directors.
It really is, but I mean now, it can change, and that's why you see knock on wood. But I mean, when you watch the news, the government says, look, we don't want to have any shutdown this year because obviously, the implementation of the QR code, so what it is, I don't want to stir up the whole thing. It's not just talking about, but it does give some hope. It's like, okay, they're considering not to do a shutdown again, which is good. But it's like, it's always knock on wood. What's going to happen in 1 month? It's going to happen in 2 months. It's going to happen in 6 months. Yeah. But it's nice to see that everything's kind of coming back. It's basically you're open, the other schools open, any dojo's open because martial arts are the backbone. Martial arts dojo, or whatever you want to call them, academy schools, they are the backbone of our communities. They really are. And that's why they need to be open. We always need to be supporting and making sure that we're helping the community develop.
Especially with the kids, you know, you're helping the kids to be proud of themselves, of achieving, you know, some stuff, you know, because you have kids that, you know, they have difficulties at school, they had a rough day, they had a rough week, they come in the dojo and you push them hard, but they're happy at the end of the day, you know, and that's what our goal, you know, like you said, we're talking about the position. You know, we have kids that when you tell example to their kid, even though the kid was here for the past 3 years, it goes here, it goes there, they don't record it. But if you show them and you have an image, it's good for them. So, you know, we have that, we have to be there to help the kids and even the adults. You know, you have to, the adults, we know, start work and they have that frustration and have that, you know, the dealing with the family and stuff like that. So they need to come in a place, a safe place, that they're able to release all that stress. And they're leaving here. They're happy to go home. You know, they're happy to go sleep, and they come back the next 2 days. So that's, you know, we need to remain open. For sure.
Shihan, where can people connect with you on social media there for our community, like school, organization?
They go on Google, they put KaratePerez, and you have my Instagram, my YouTube, the Facebook. Yeah, they have all that.
Good. Guys, make sure to follow Shihan Hugo Perez. He's an integral part for Quebec martial arts. And they said, it doesn't matter what organization you're with, if you're looking to get into martial arts, you want to try something, support Shihan Hugo. As I said, he's now a friend of the show. He gave me a shirt, and appreciate it. Just want to say once again, if you ever want to connect to True Experience, look up True Experience Pod on Instagram, the Facebook page, and make sure to support Shihan Hugo more. The show's about him because it's not about me, it's about me and the guests becoming a community as a whole. So we grow, we're going to go far together. So make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe, and support Shihan Hugo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, 1 hour and 20 minutes.